levels deep. The Lawrence Livermore International Lab Complex is used for human genome mapping and making clones. They're trying to resolve the differences that clones don't look exactly like humans. For example, the earlobes are attached, where the human would have a free-swinging earlobe, so they're looking at working on chromosome 19. This was a newly built lab that cost $1.2 billion, and it was for the laser facility that they had there that had to do all of that technology and engineer all that. The Moreno Valley complex, then there's the Mount Lassen complex, which is now under white hat control. The Needles complex, the Palmdale complex, new aircraft design, anti-gravity research was done there, or is being done there, excuse me. This is in the process of being burned out. It's still part of the mop-up, so this one is not completely yet under white hat control. That's part of all that burnout that you see. And then the Tehachapi facility north of Tejon Ranch, which is 42 levels, the Ukiah facility, and then Cocoa Weave Peak, which was an old mining city, and they built a facility under the Cocoa Weave Peak, and that's now under white hat control. Next, we go to Colorado, my home, Alamosa. And I talked to somebody who was living out there, seeing all the black helicopters, all of this with the special forces. They cleaned that completely out. The Book Cliffs is still under dark hat control. The Boulder facility has been cleaned out. That's a headquarters for the EMC, which is a type of electromagnetic mind control system that was going to be used once we were all highly integrated with all the nanofibers and nanotech and smart dust that are putting in our vaccinations, in our air, in our water. So they would use that as well as for their Mark Ultra slaves, and as well through your smartphones, all your smart devices that would make us all into little bots for them. This is genetic. This whole big, huge facility was for genetics and geology mining, as well as related to advancing technology for tunneling and underground construction. Under white hat control, that's part of the huge facility that went, as we'll see, from DIA, Colorado Springs, NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain. That was for the Canada, U.S., and FEMA. Hundreds of people are on staff. It's 4.5 cubic miles of underground caverns, 45 underground steel buildings. They had a complex of tracks and satellites and missiles and submarine entrances and much, much more. This NORAD facility also controlled the Monarch Mark Ultra slave that had the end times programming, which is known as Alex, Janice, and Alexis for callback when they were going to do with Hillary their nuclear war, and then round up the renegade civilians, and they would activate those bots to help take people out. They still have a lot of those bots. From what I've been told, 6 million have been taken out or, got a hold of and taken the implants that they put in them out, and they're, getting their personalities and their beingnesses put back together and getting the demons that they put in charge of each personality once they do the torture and create those personalities. But there's still some. So, when we see the report coming out in maybe with the Durham around March, I would be ready because that's why if they have to do martial laws for these bots that don't even know that they are. And then that NORAD facility was 1,287 miles of underground road. And that's all now completely under the Alliance control and completely cleaned up. Then there was the Fort Collins, which is still not completely done yet. That came up into the University of Colorado State University at Fort Collins. And then the DIA Denver complex, which consists first off of 5 buildings they dug out and put in there before they laid down the swastika runways for DIA and the buildings. And then they had 70 floor, these 2 primary buildings are 70 floors high. This facility goes down 8 cities, literally stacked on top of each other under Denver, and the lowest city is 22 miles in diameter. So this is a massive facility. I've actually been on the train coming from, flights and listened to, people talking, 2 stories. Oh, don't get off when we get to the main terminal. I got a special tour to go under the big stuff. So, if you're paying attention, you can see that, and that, all of that is connected and underneath there, and you can see it when you ride those trains. If you're paying attention, you can see the train tracks going off in different directions. And this facility was also for a concentration camp for separation of personnel when they would put martial law in after the nuclear World War III. And if you go around DIA and look, the barbed wire all around DIA is facing in, not keeping people out. It's keeping people in. That barbed wire faces in, not out. You can also see pipes and everything coming out of the ground. You can see that huge ziggurat that continues up until they got this under control. You could see semis coming up and dumping dirt and then literally sink into that ziggurat and come up facing the other way with materials to take out. There were 2 labs destroyed by scientists that gave their life back in 2012, taking out a dead man switch. This lab laid right underneath Pena Boulevard. For those people that live in Colorado during that time, there was a 4.7 earthquake, and Pena Boulevard was in excellent condition. They tore the whole thing up, and then they came in with trucks, removed all that debris, and then they completely rebuilt Pena Boulevard just like it was before they tore it up. I mean, there's no reason to tear up perfectly good access to the airport and then put it back the way you had it originally, unless there was something going on underneath it that you needed to clean up. And that was part of the maglev train system came in through there as well. So that connected DIA with Washington, D.C. So they really wanted that access. So they came in, and those 2 scientists gave their life to keep the entire Front Range of Colorado from being wiped out by Kuru. So God bless them, and we honor their sacrifice. Mm-hmm. There are areas and areas of fenced-in barbed wire, concrete stacks, and you can see many cooling towers all over the DIA complex, all over the runways. Pay attention if you ever fly in and out of there. You can see the entrances. This area is much larger. The DIA complex is much larger than the city that's on top, the Denver, and its suburbs. And this was the reason is, and this is why Obama actually spent, when they thought there was an asteroid coming in, he flew to Denver and he went underground there. This was for continuity of government for the deep state. And this is all for their transition system. That goes all the way up under what is called the Federal Center, which is between 6th Avenue and Alameda. There's a nuclear reactor both there and under DIA to power this whole thing. It's the main hub for all the maglevs, and the entire continent had hubbed out from Denver system. It has massive Mark Ultra facilities with Delta Orion in-time programming teams there, as well as all these foreign troops that were put in there to flood out of that facility. They have 150 years of food storage, and they had a large lake in there with parks and flora and fauna and animals and all of that stuff to make it look literally a beautiful 7-star resort. It was also part of the free energy Tesla grid system. This whole facility went a total of 88.3 miles deep. And you can see one of those entrances, and that's literally right underneath the frontier runways there. If you look down on DIA, the runways are in a shape of a swastika, and all over DIA is all kinds of demonic murals, gargoyles, all kinds of things out on the facing the airport runways. There's a statue to Anubis, and there's a plaque saying it's the New World Order Airport.
Scary stuff.
Then in the Grand Mesa, that's up above Grand Junction, that's completely under white hat control. Another person I knew was there, and they saw the stuff going on in that clean out there, as well as the Montrose base, which was north of Paradox in the Paradox Valley. Then the Creed, that's reached through old mine shafts of the silver mines in Creed, and that actually goes out quite a ways. Then the Delta facility under the San Juan Valley. Then Falcon Air Force Base, that's used for satellite control. The Gore Range, which is near the lake west of Denver Library, and the Central Data Bank. It's the central data bank for all of the New World Order in this side of the world. The San Juan Valley is completely a dome underneath the entire San Juan Valley, all the way up underneath the gray sand dunes. And that's the entrance is hidden underneath a buffalo grazing ground and a crocodile farm. And then in Telluride, they have a base there where if you ski out of bounds, they figure you're fair game and they grab you from the ski area. In Warden Valley, which is west of Fort Collins, is now under white hat control. The Montrose base, also north of Paradox in the Paradox Valley, as well, another base. And then in Connecticut, we go. There's just one base that's in somewhere in northwest Connecticut. I haven't been able to vet out exactly where that is. In Florida, there was this base should actually now be in italics, Rick. That was taken under control during Hurricane Dorian by SEAL Team 9. Georgia, we have a 3-base facility that is interconnected. It's the regional center for that area of the country. It's under Atlanta, and it has New World Order was rediring the boundaries, as I said earlier, so that's the base for the entire area. It has 3 large underground facilities, which are composed of Kennesaw Mountain, Marietta, which is connected to Dobbs Air Force Base, and the South Atlanta, which is entered through Forest Park. Then there's the Thomasville base, which is at 30 degrees, 50.2 north, 83 degrees, 58.9 west. This is another FEMA regional camp center where they train groups in search and destroy missions, otherwise known as renegade civilian ops. So this is the primary facility for training their renegade civilian ops. It's the regional center for the training of the ops, as well as the entire Continental Center. And then what I'm talking about here is when martial law was to come during, after the end of all the nukes going off for World War III, with Hillary getting in, which was planned to happen within 2 months of her election. They were going to have a submarine launch nukes off the coast of Korea and the Soviet Union, making it look like they launched, and we'd have a nuclear war. These are United Nations International Security Forces, UNISF, and the UNMATF, which stands for United Nations Multinational Task Force. It's located throughout dumps throughout the U.S., and I actually invaded. A student of mine and I went into one of these ops in Hawaii when they were training with all Vietnamese, and asked them what they're doing up there on the goal out. So this stuff is absolutely for real. And scroll up there, Rick. Please, sir. Thank you. Canada was going to also deploy their own forces. This stuff goes all the way up into Canada. The CIA red list and blue list. If you were to look in your mailbox, before Hillary got in, you would see a little blue dot or red dot. Sorry about that. It's my doggy girl. That would be in your post office box or your mailbox, and this would tell you red list means that just to wipe you out, they come and round people up. You're not useful as a slave. They were just going to kill you and take you away, and troop carriers would come. The blue list means you're trainable and salvageable as a nice little slave.